Susan Black. In this episode of Joseph, my colleagues from Brigham Young University, along with scholars from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, will continue to explore the life of the prophet Joseph Smith. We will examine his quest to receive the plates which had the appearance of gold, his marriage to Emma Hale, translation of the ancient record, and the publication of the Book of Mormon, the years 1823 to 1830, on this episode of Joseph. In the early 19th century, Joseph Smith grew to manhood just 3 miles from here in Palmyra, New York. Joseph lived with his parents and siblings on a farm where he worked alongside his family. When Joseph wasn't working, he often meditated on heavenly subjects and pondered the question, "Am I saved?" It was that question and the admonition found in James 1 and 5. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that led young Joseph to pray for guidance. In response to his prayer, God the Father and his Son Jesus Christ appeared to him in a glorious vision. In September 1823, the angel Moroni instructed 17-year-old Joseph to come to this hill. Here he was told of the work that lay ahead.
The angel Moroni's visit would reunite the family by answering Joseph Smith Sr.'s quest for visionary truth and his mother's seeking organized Christian religion.
Alvin Smith was the oldest in the family and truly a noble son. The family depended upon Alvin to be a worker, where he would work assisting Father Smith in digging wells. Alvin was also very much responsible and had the idea for building a home for Father and Mother Smith there on their property in Palmyra. He wanted them to have a place where they wouldn't have to work so hard as they had through the years. Joseph was particularly attached to his brother Alvin, looked up to him, and Alvin obviously very supportive of Joseph. In fact, it was Alvin who suggested in 1823, after Moroni's visitation to the young boy, that they hurry through their work so that the next evening that they would be able to quit work an hour early, so that by the time the sun was setting, that the family could pay attention and listen to young Joseph as he shared with them the truths he had learned of eternity.
Alvin, according to Lucy, was engaged to marry a very nice young woman from a respected family in the village. He just by instinct and appreciated the divine call that came to Joseph.
November 15th, 1823, about 10 in the morning, Alvin Smith became very ill. So ill that it was thought necessary to call in a local doctor. The doctor who came was named Greenwood. He was not the doctor that the family typically used. He administered to Alvin a medicine called calomel. Although Alvin refused at first to take this medicine, the doctor insisted. 4 other physicians eventually came in to see him, but none felt that they were successful in lodging the initial medicine given by this Dr. Greenwood from the body of Alvin. Alvin will die as a result. Great sorrow for the family. The family will continue to remember Alvin through the years. Hiram Smith doing his baptism out there in the Mississippi River in Nauvoo. Father Smith Sr., his last words were, "I see Alvin." His death was a tragic loss to the family.
So this was a great tragedy to lose not only a powerful breadwinner and worker in the family, but a spiritual supporter of the Book of Mormon. Alvin, on his deathbed, turned to Joseph and said, "You must do everything you can to get the plates, and you must be obedient and follow every instruction that you receive."
A year later, on September 22nd, 1824, as directed by the angel Moroni, Joseph heads for the hill Cumorah. He finds that stone box, reaches in, takes the plates out, and sets them down on the ground just for a second to recover the stone box. He turns to find the plates, and they're gone. He wonders why and asks the Lord, and the Lord reminds him, "I warned you, you are not to let those plates out of your sight or out of your hands for a second." And so again, he'll reach down into the stone box, and when he tries to get the plates, he is hurled back with an intense shock. He was not to receive the plates that day. Heading home, you can imagine, as he goes empty-handed. Will his family believe what he's told them? Amazingly, that family rallies around and believes what the prophet has to say. But they're very concerned maybe he will never be able to obtain the plates. Showing us what you do when you want to receive a blessing. That family will double their efforts in diligence and in prayer in supplicating the Lord that Joseph can receive the plates.
During these years of 1823 to 27, Joseph was facing opposition from many people on the outside. Thus, the support of his family was extremely critical. It helped lift his burden, and further, they continued to encourage him to prepare and to make himself worthy and ready to receive the plates.
With Alvin's death and Hiram's marriage, more and more farm tasks and also the challenge of meeting that annual mortgage payment fell on Joseph's shoulders. One of the ways that the Smiths made money was through the selling of wheat, and through that business they became acquainted with one Josiah Stoll from South Bainbridge, New York. Mr. Stoll had learned that Joseph had powers to see things that could not be discerned with the natural eye, and so in the summer of 1825, Mr. Stoll asked the Smiths to accompany him to Harmony, Pennsylvania, there to find a lost silver mine, a Spanish silver mine, on the property of Isaac Hale.
Joseph Smith searched for treasure with Josiah Stoll for about a month in the fall of 1825. Finally, Joseph's history says he convinced Stoll that it was a fruitless effort and there was really no treasure to be found there. Joseph apparently gets quite concerned about what Moroni will think about the time he spent digging for treasure. Martin Harris later said that Moroni, when he next spoke to Joseph, told him he had to quit the company of the treasure diggers, that he had to be a better young man and prepare himself spiritually and morally to be the guardian of the Book of Mormon plates.
After the money-digging venture was abandoned, Joseph Smith Sr. went home, but Joseph stayed on and continued to work for Josiah Stoll and also Joseph Knight cutting timber. Joseph Knight called Joseph Smith the best hand he had ever hired. It was while there that Joseph met his future wife, Emma Hale, and from what Joseph tells us, it was love at first sight. Joseph Knight tells us that the previous September, the angel Moroni had told Joseph that he could have the plates if he brought the right person. When Joseph asked, well, who's the right person, the angel said, oh, you'll know. Joseph then looked into his seer stone and found that the right person was Emma Hale.
Emma was the seventh of Isaac and Elizabeth Hale's 9 children. She was a bright young woman. She'd had not only a grammar school education, but a year beyond that at a private girls' school. And it may have been that her father was particularly attached to this younger daughter. I don't think that's something we know, but we do know he was bitterly opposed to Joseph Smith. And on the 2 occasions when Joseph asked for Emma's hand, he refused absolutely. So what was this young couple to do? The 2 of them in love, and they decided to elope. Emma left the home in Harmony,